Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered here in Kyiv's Theater Podil for this outstanding ceremony, the award prize of Drahomán Prize for the interpreters from Ukrainian into the languages of the world. And the honor to present this ceremony was awarded to us. Irina Slavinska and Vadim Karpyak. And there is a question, how do we formulate the image of a country? Maybe we are reading news, maybe we are watching movies, but perhaps it's the cultural art and artworks which are providing the optics for discovering other places and countries. And perhaps the most efficient bridge for bridging the countries, it's the translation interpreting, because thanks to the work of translators we're discovering other cultures and countries. The word Drahomán, which you can see in Drahomán Prize award, it belongs to the realm of interpreters, and it's very ambiguous because it means in the first place a translator or interpreter, but there is another meaning, an ambassador, which is a person who is bridging cultures. So it's no doubt, there is no accident in giving this prize for interpreters' skills, but also for the contribution in promoting Ukrainian literature abroad. Drahomán is this example of inability to translate the word in any language, because it's a very special word, but we will work on having less and less spaces which cannot be translated, thanks to this work of our interpreters and translators. And as of now, you can have a look at the calendar and see that there is the World Day of Book and Copyright, so congratulations. And we will start with other congratulations now with our honorable guest. In order to learn how Ukrainian country is promoting the Ukrainian book within Ukraine and beyond, we are inviting the Minister of Culture and Informational Policy, Alexander Tkachenko, who is going to get connected online with us. We are waiting for this online video conference because we all understand that we are existing in COVID, post-COVID circumstances, waiting for the communication gods. We will listen to the music meanwhile. So I think you noticed that the music here, me as a person working at the radio culture, I'm so pleased to hear this music, and I'm happy to greet the solo musicians of the orchestra of the National Philharmonics of Ukraine, Alexandra Sanyakova playing flute and Volodymyr Gerasimov playing fagotto, and we are going to listen to this very special music today. They are composers of those countries which will be presented by the winners of Drahomán Prize finalists. And soon you will meet them. And again, we have this opportunity to listen to the music.
І тепер у нас є вже зв'язок, і я з радістю запрошую до слова міністра культури та інформаційної політики України, пана Олександра Ткаченка.
To speak, Mr. Alexander Tkachenko. Hello, I'm greeting you from the city of Cossack glory from Zaporizhia. That's why it was a little bit difficult to connect. I'm congratulating everybody with the day of the book. It's very symbolic to have this ceremony on this day. Of course, the promotion of the Ukrainian book in translations, it's one of the key goals and tasks. Of course, it doesn't look as outstanding it should be, but we are moving forward. We have a strategy for readings where we are putting the biggest weight on promoting our Ukrainian books, not through participation in Bologna and Frankfurt fairs, but also in participating in the program Translate Ukraine. So I think we have many prospects and many areas to work at. And I also think that Drahomán Prize will become part of the Ukrainian culture DNA. And again, congratulations to today's holiday. Thank you, Mr. Minister. This was the Minister of Culture and Informational Policy of Ukraine, Alexander Tkachenko. And then now let's move on to the theme of the sounds of Ukrainian culture in the world, because culture and literature and music will be interwoven today, because this theme of a possibility to present Ukrainian culture in abroad, it was established by 3 institutions, and it's a unique example of partnership between state and public organizations, because it was created by the Ukrainian Institute, Ukrainian Pen, Ukrainian Institute of the book. And now we will be able to listen to the representatives of those institutions and why it's important to honor the translators of Ukrainian literature. We'll listen to Volodymyr Vyatrovych from the Ukrainian Institute. Good day, dear ladies and gentlemen. Hello, presenters. Of course, this award, it's on intersection of interests and efforts of 3 institutes that are combine their forces to have more powerful sounds of Ukrainian literature in abroad. And with this cultural diplomacy, we couldn't stand aside, so we wanted to participate in honoring those people, thanks to whom the Ukrainian literature can sound in other languages within the codes of other cultures, and thanks to their work, Ukraine will be better known abroad. And this is actually one of the tasks of the Ukrainian Institute. And as you heard, the award is given not only for the translation skills, but also for the promotion of the Ukrainian culture. And I think it's important to mention this function of a translator, because for me, for example, literature has been that key which opened the doors to many cultures and countries which I haven't yet visited, but that earlier, for example, translations in the 90s, in the early 2000s, I opened and discovered the countries such as Peru or Japan only through literature. It was a unique experience, and I'm sure every one of us has such a list of books which discovered other places for us. So I'm very happy to have such a short and long at the same time a list of awards where with very high skilled experts, professionals competing for the award, and hopefully it will be sustainable, it will persist, and we will give more of such awards in the years to come. Thank you all the organizers, everybody who created this ceremony and made it possible. Thank you, Volodymyr, for your greetings. Another Ukrainian pen, a cultural and rights defendants organization, is another founder of this award. I'm inviting Andriy Kurkov, who is the writer and representative of the president of Ukrainian pen. Edited the texts which were translated by Ukrainian translators from other languages, and since those times it seemed to me that translators are those unseen people that are hiding behind those who are writing the texts, behind the authors, and thanks to the evolution, it's changing. We see that translators, they are like angels, guardian angels, because they are guarding the books which, when they are moving to the foreign reader. And we are now in a situation when we see both the author's name and the translator's name on the books. And this award will uplift the status of the translator, but also will allow the translator to feel honored for his or her work and to have an additional stimuli, motivation to work better on this deepening of the cultures, because a translator is working in mutual enrichment of the cultures, and this way the culture is able to be self-conscious, and Ukrainian culture is being a part of the world culture. This award, it's working not only for the translators, but for all the publishing houses, for the authors of Ukraine in the world. And I'm happy to see everybody here and on Facebook and internet, or those, I greet those who is promoting their favorite Ukrainian books to the publishing houses and is standing persistently at the publishing houses until they get it published. And I greet ourselves for having this award appeared, and all the finalists, all the nominees. I greet you with having this award finally, and for the years to come, when it will be influencing positively the Ukrainian culture in Ukraine and abroad. Thank you, Mr. Andriy, and we are greeting other, and we're getting acquainted with other institutes, and it's the Ukrainian Institute of Book now. This is the state organization, state institute, which was established to promote the Ukrainian books abroad, and I'm inviting the director of Ukrainian Institute of the Book, Oleksandra Koval.
Dear friends, those who love books, and I would like to congratulate you with a beautiful event, the World Day of Book and Copyright. Do you know that in the world every year are published about 1 million names of the books? And someone may say, oh, it's a lot of books, it's a whole sea of books, but I say this is the book of world, and we need to do this world to conquer. Ukraine, as a minister just said, and just small point in the world and in this world, in this sea, but I just made a plan how to conquer this world of book. That Drahomán Prize is already established. This is the first rocket. The second, we need to participate in the international book fairs other honored guests. This will be a thank you to our cooperation. Third, to actively inform the world society about the best books of Ukraine, which is made by the Ukrainian Institute of Book. To establish the Congress of the Interpreter and Translator and to gather all together from worldwide, and we will do it together. To implement the residence and studio visits of foreign translators and interpreters to Ukraine, we will do that. We will create we will create the standards of European Ukrainian literature and will promote the studying and learning Ukrainian literature and mastering it in the most important universities and institutes worldwide to make it in the 500 institutes this course to be learned. We need to ensure each year to appear not less than 250 translations from the Ukrainian language were appeared in the world. And further on, the 8th point is like a magic number of the infinity, the Nobel Prize on Literature, for which everybody is expecting. And so Drahomán Prize becomes the most important and the honored translation prize of the world and literature. And because of this, we are ready, our Institute of Book, along with Ukrainian Institute, with SPEN and with all other parties who desire to help. And I want to say to Andrei Kurkov something. Now we just actually found how to celebrate a birthday party. Our congratulations to you. Thank you, Lesya. I just joined to your congratulations, and I like what Oleksiy Chupa said, and of course want that Drahomán Prize grow and to extend it. And so this, if to talk about more about the terms of the completion of the Drahomán Prize, it's better to speak about these terms and conditions. For the competition lasted from September 20 to November 30, 2020. So this was a contest. Translators were nominated to Drahomán Prize regardless of their country of residence, and the nominees should have at least one translated or published fiction or documentary work. The book which the translator was nominated had to be published by a foreign publishing house within the last 3 years. A translator could be nominated for the prize by foreign culture institutions, diplomatic missions, research centers, publishing houses, creative associations, and members of the jury. The jury of the prize consists of 9 people, in particular the heads of the founding organization, as well as the authoritative writers, translators, linguistic and literary scholars, the culture managers invited by them. The applications submitted for the 2020 contest were evaluated by Andrei Kurkov, who has a birthday party today. He is a writer, president of PEN Ukraine. Volodymyr Vyatrovych, the general director of Ukrainian Institute. Alexandra Koval, who reported just now, she is the director of the Ukrainian Book Institute. Olga Gnatyuk, Ukrainian scholar, translator, vice president of the PEN Ukraine. Ostap Slavinsky, poet and translator. Valentina Stukalova, manager of book intellectual project of the French Institute. Natalia Ivanichuk, translator. Yuri Prohaska, translator. Maka Robert Stek, Ukrainian and Canadian literary scholar and writer. As this was the first contest for getting the prize, many applications were received in 2020. In total, 27 translators were nominated for the prize, each by the ambassador of Ukraine in the relevant country. The geography of the competition was global. It was really global. Application came from 14 countries, including Germany, France, Great Britain, Poland, and Czech Republic, Italy, Serbia, Greece, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, the United States, Australia, Brazil, and Lebanon. Most applications were submitted by foreign publishing houses, diplomatic missions of Ukraine in different countries, and scientific institutions. Now we are ready to move on the most important part of our ceremony, the presentation of the finalists, more precisely the female finalists of the 2020 Drahomán Prize. We are very honored to name the translators who were shortlisted for the 2020 Drahomán Prize. So they are. Claudia Data is a translator from Ukrainian into German. Thanks to her, the works of Serhii, Zhadan, Alexander Ivanets, Tanya Malarchuk, Viktor Nebarak, Maria Matios, Andrei Kurkov, Natalia Varashbit, and many of other Ukrainian authors are heard in German. Rita Kindlerová is a translator from Ukrainian into Czech. She translated into Czech in particular the works of Oksana Zabushka, Tanya Malarchuk, Natalia Sladanka, Yuri Vinichuk, Katarina Michalnitsa, and others. Katarzyna Katyńska is a translator from Ukrainian into Polish. Among her translations, in particular, are the works of Oksana Zabushka, Yuri Andrukovich, Victoria Amelina, Oleksiy Chupa, Sofia Adruchovich, Lyubka Dereš, Valery Shevchuk, and others. And now it's time to get acquainted with each of our wonderful finalists. Let's start with meeting Claudia Data and a short video card about her. Claudia Data, Germany, translator from Ukrainian into German, coordinator of literary translation at the University of Tübingen. Regularly conducts projects aimed at the development of civil society in Germany and the Eastern Partnership partners. Claudia Data was nominated with translations of Serhii Zhadan's German collection Antenna and Oleksiy Chupa's novel Fairy Tales of My Bomb Shelter. I started to translate it from the first years. When we started to translate from the Polish, then I just learned how to translate in the Leipzig University, and I started to learn in a different university to know how to translate and to know the literature, including Kyiv. And in the beginning of 2000, I started in Kyiv to start to learn Ukrainian language and to realize my translation project. Claudia Data was nominated of the translation of the Zhadan's poetry collection Antenna, nominated by jury member Yuri Stekievsky, and with the translation of Oleksiy Chupa novel Fairy Tales of My Shelter. I'm very happy to be in the finalist of the Drahomán Prize because it seems to me that intention to translator is not so close, because we work in ourselves, and very often it happens that our intellectual contribution in the text is underestimated. Personally, to me, I want to say that I'm happy to be a finalist with Serhii Zhadan's poetry collection, which I translated last year, because Serhii Zhadan was the first author who I was translated first. It was the history of culture at the beginning of the century, and for me it's a great honor that I started to be finalist with his book. I'm happy to say several words about the Claudia, because I'm happy to see her in the final of this premium, and it's happy that this prize exists right now, and I'm happy to see these people, like a nominee and a finalist, who just propagate and promote the Ukrainian literature in the world. We waited with Claudia for many years. We started to work with her with my book, which was in German language, translated by her with Claudia. It was very happy to work, because she always just deepen in our Ukrainian context and discovers new layers of Ukrainian literature, and how she discover the whole world, and how she interpret in a German language. This is very interesting work when to compare her work, for example, 2000 and this time translation. This period, it was very complicated, and now she translated and came through the very successful way. And because to see her, Claudia Data is a finalist of Drahomán Prize, it's not like by just, it's logical, and I'm happy that in this time when all our plans, all our lives just looks like so small and tiny, and there is something stable in this world. For example, like people who just working hard not to unite the cultures with their work. I'm happy that thanks to the finalists and translators, Ukrainian literature becomes closer to the European reader. Claudia, we are happy to work with you, and I hope we will have further on a lot of different joint projects, and I'm happy will bring joy not only to me but our readers as well. As we said, each translator was nominated with the books which were published for the last 3 years. Claudia Data was nominated for 2 books by Zhadan's book Antenna Poetry, and it was actually nominated by Serhii, and the second book, Roman of Oleksiy Chupa, Fairy Tales from Boy Shelter. It's nominated by publishing house Haymon Verlag. The organizers of this year's ceremony have prepared a special gift for all of us. During the ceremony, we'll be able to hear excerpts from the nominated books in the language and translation performed by the actor of the project book tasting, except from the novel by Oleksiy Chupa, Fairy Tales of My Bomb Shelter. As for the first gift, this Oleksiy Chupa's excerpts, Fairy Tales of My Bomb Shelter, translated in German by Claudia Data and read by theater and film actor Yuri Stekievsky.
Von Claudia Dathe. Märchen aus meinem Luftschutzkeller. Was ein Samstagmorgen ist, wusste Serhii Platonow eigentlich nicht. Gewöhnlich gab er sich, nachdem er die ganze Woche über seine gesetzlich vorgeschriebenen Stunden in der Bank absolviert hatte, freitagabends mit seinen Kollegen in einer Bar die kannte, kam er tief in der Nacht nach Hause, warf sich ins Bett und schlief bis zum nächsten Abend durch. Der Samstagmorgen existierte für ihn nicht. Vielleicht gab es ihn, aber seit der Schulzeit hatte Serhii keinen mehr im wachen Zustand erlebt. An diesem Samstag lagen die Dinge allerdings anders. Gestern hatte er von seinem Chef für heute einen Sonderauftrag bekommen. Nichts Kompliziertes. Er sollte bei einer Tussi zu Hause vorbeischauen und herausfinden, weswegen sie ihren Kredit nicht zurückzahlte. Wenn möglich, sollte er außerdem klären, warum sie nicht nur die Zahlung verweigerte, sondern ebenso dreist die Anrufe und Briefe der Bank ignorierte, also der von ihr unterschriebenen Vertrag nicht einhielt. In der letzten Woche waren mehrere Mitarbeiter bei ihr gewesen, hatten jedoch niemanden angetroffen. Wahrscheinlich war die Dame in der Arbeit. Auf der Arbeitsstelle, die sie im Vertrag angegeben hatte, kannte sie allerdings niemand. Es war eine Minutensache. Er brauchte die Frau bloß zu erwischen und herauszufinden, ob wenigstens die Adresse stimmte, die sie angegeben hatte. Dass er hier als Bankmitarbeiter einen seriösen Eindruck hinterlassen wollte, war er Freitagabend nach der Arbeit nach Hause gegangen und hatte sich nüchtern ins Bett gelegt. Zum ersten Mal seit langer Zeit. Mit einem Stadtplan in der Hand lief er von der Haltestelle los. Das Haus, in dem die Klientin wohnte, musste irgendwo ganz in der Nähe sein. Nachdem Serhii ein paar Runden durchs Viertel gedreht hatte, stieß er auf eine breite Straße, die zu beiden Seiten von ausladenden Kastanien gesäumt war. Sieht schon aus, dachte Serhii und bog in einen Hof, an dessen Einfahrt er die gesuchte Nummer fand. Der Hof war frühsommerlich grün und morgendlich warm. Er wurde von einer roten Ziegelmauer und einem Kindergarten begrenzt. Die Hausmeisterin klapperte mit Eimern, irgendwo rief mit tiefer Stimme der Milchmann. Ein paar Katzen sprangen kreuz und quer auf einem asphaltierten Streifen herum. Das Haus erwachte gerade erst zum Leben. Die Chancen, Frau Labucha anzutreffen, standen gut. Lächelnd machte sich Serhii auf die Suche. Er lief auf die Hauseingänge zu und studierte die Metallschilder, auf denen die Wohnungsnummer des jeweiligen Aufgangs standen. Die 12 war im zweiten. Die schwere Metalltür hatte einen Zahlencode. Drinnen brüllte höllische Musik. Der Bankangestellte erschauderte, obwohl es draußen schon heiß wurde. Fröstelnd zog er die Schultern hoch und spürte, wie sich kalte Schweißtropfen in sein blutenweißes Hemd setzten. Jetzt kam die Türkode. Allzu schwer konnte es ja nicht sein, da die Firmen die codegesicherte Türe einbauten, sich auf 2 Codes beschränkten. Serhijs zweiter Versuch klappte. Quietschend sprang die Tür auf. Das Treppenhaus war kühl und verqualmt. Die sommergrünen Bäume und der heiße Asphalt blieben draußen. Der Junior-Bankberater betrat das dämmerige Stiegenhaus, lief ein paar Stufen hinauf und hörte wieder diese schreckliche Musik, fühlte eine glatte, kalte Schlange über seinen Rücken kriechen. Am liebsten wäre er umgekehrt. Aber dann fiel ihm ein, dass Mitarbeiter, die Aufträge nicht ausführten, sich nicht lange hielten. Also klammerte er sich fester an das hölzerne Treppengeländer.
Для представлення Клаудії Дате та обґрунтування рішення капітули
And for grounding the jury's decision, I'm giving the word to the finalist of the Drahomán Prize 2020, Yuri Prochasko. Hello, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear Claudia. I called my today's work like this. In 1953, Podil&quot, the British psychoanalytics presented a concept of a good mother, and he made a revolution in the perception and self-perception of what mothers need to be, feel, do in order to feel good. And in the same way, the translation provides certain criteria to be good. There are so many great translators in the world which are very deliberate, very skillful, but rather good translators. They are the core, the backbone of our world. And Claudia Data is has moved beyond from this notion of quite a good translator. She is highly skilled, very disciplined, very work-oriented, highly professional, and fully understanding the Ukrainian culture inside and outside. This is what defines her translation work. And she is not only highly skilled top translator of the modern literature, but she also is beyond being just a good translator. She's more than that. She is giving lectures on a translation in Tübingen University. She's participating in colloquiums, congresses, and summer schools. She's writing expertises, annotations, and prefaces and postfaces, and she's giving grounding essays. She's helping publishing houses. She's providing manuscripts. She's teaching. She's editing. She's publishing. She's competing. She is giving interviews and asking for interviews, and she's moderating discussions. And she has a good value, and she is fighting for the proper perception of the Ukrainian culture. So with her work, with her activity and all her life being connected to the Ukrainian culture, it proves a lot because she is very brave, having dedicated herself to the Ukrainian literature, because it's not about the world renownment or being wealthy. It's about the life dream, and she turned her work into the perception of the translation work as a contribution to the world literature, and everything which she's doing in her life, it's so moving, it's so touching, and she's working on the literature, and it's serving to the benefits of the Ukrainian literature in the world, and the readiness to work and to live for it, and the feeling of justice for Ukrainian literature to be integrated into the world-renowned culture through translation into German. It's about being loyal to her love for this work, and to feel the beauty and the power of the Ukrainian literature, and to co-create. It's about the love and to protect the language from being from prejudices, and to not just to be passive in respect to the prejudices, but to fight against them. And this is what Claudia Data is, because Ukrainian culture through German language is perceived as interesting, as equal European expression, as a description and witnessing of the sovereign life, its own, not copied, not superficial witness. And besides this goal, it's important to see another merit in what Claudia Data is doing. It looks like the real romanticism, because she is connected to the key spheres of the German romanticism, that's Turin and another city where romanticism is fully fledged. And we would like to honor the three dimensions of Claudia Data's translation. That's bravery, that's professionalism, and that's being very exact. Her life is proof of this translation bravery. She is able to speak of the bravery, and I wonder how would she work with those two concepts, translations. She is living with her own life is quite it proves what she is doing as a translator. So due to the restrictions in the COVID times, these prizes, these awards will be received by representatives of the translators, and we are inviting to receive Drahomán Prize for Claudia Data by the finalist of Drahomán Prize 2020, Mark Belorusets. He's a translator from German whom Claudia calls her own teacher in artistic translation. Hello. I'm congratulating Claudia with this diploma, with this high award, and what can I say? Yes, she does call me her teacher, and it's a great honor. And I want to mention that it's a little bit too much. It's not just honor. It's because maybe I just gave her a little push, a little for this journey in translation, but she followed and still following this path on her own. I remember her coming to Kyiv with that program of academic exchange, and actually she was lecturing on technical translation in KPI, and every other year teachers of German come to Kyiv, but not every one of them would become a translator of Ukrainian literature. So, and in Kyiv, in about a year after her coming here, she gave a workshop. It was one of the first translation workshops where she was working with young beginners, translators, and she was working on the novels of the modern German writers. All anybody willing was able to join, and those were the students of Claudia. Her first translations were the poems by Serhii Zhadan, and it's symptomatic because what I felt about her, it's the feeling of the intonation, of the rhyme, and the willingness to describe the image as exactly as possible, and she feels the poems, and it's about the exactness and about the rhyme, which needs to be caught even in the written, in the prose. I feel that Claudia is an agent. She's not a secret agent of Ukrainian literature in German language. So I wish her to continue with that agent's work in Germany, new literature, new novels, new translations. Thank you, Mr. Mark. And now we invite the finalist of Drahomán Prize, Claudia Data, please. Hello from Jena, and as Jurko mentioned, Jena is one of those places to which I'm connected. Yes, indeed, the Geist of Schiller and Goethe are present here, and I'm trying to get in touch with it. I'm so happy that I was awarded, that I'm a finalist, and I'd like to thank those who supported me in this path, and that is Marco. We saw each other, but my Oksana from Shevchenko University, who used to be my teacher, and Marina Volinska from Kyiv, who always supported me in my competition, my attempts to translate Ukrainian literature into German. Also, I would like to acknowledge my Ukrainian colleagues and the environment in which we're working, because it's always very friendly cooperation, which is helping me a lot and is making me happy. And I would like to underline the fact that there was a lot of work from the Ukrainian translators, including Translators in Action Association, because without them I think we wouldn't have been here on such a place with such support from the Ukrainian literature. I also liked what Alexandra Koval said, because I can relate to this, that she has a list of those tasks which we have in front of us for the years to come. I agree with this plan of creating a Ukrainian university for one to support the Ukrainian language and and we still need we need urgently the new Ukrainian vocabulary from Ukraine to German, because we are working based on the 1943 edition of the vocabulary. Despite of the pandemic, I think we will be continuing to work, and hopefully soon offline. I'm happy with our new projects. Of course, we're working with Serhii Zhadan for many years and with other authors, and I will be happy to meet Kasia and Rita, which I couldn't do this time. So hopefully for the next projects, I'm wishing you good luck.
Congratulations again to Claudia Data on reaching the final of the Drahomán Prize. Let's continue the ceremony. Now it's time to meet our second finalist, who represents the Czech Republic, Rita Kindlerová. Rita Kindlerová, Czech Republic. Translator from Ukrainian into Czech, belongs to the Guild of Literary Translators and the Association of Ukrainianists of the Czech Republic. A number of translations by Rita Kindlerová were adapted for the stage and broadcasted on Czech radio. Among them are texts by Ruslan Haravy, Yuri Vinichuk, Oksana Zabushka.
Почала перекладати вже під час навчань в університеті. Цікава річ навіть для мене це те, що я перше почала перекладати з української на нову грецьку. Якщо не помиляюсь, це була поема
Vyatrovych, journalistic for Ukrainian story classified as a top secret. I started to read Ukrainian and I was interested in this. Rita Kindlerová was nominated for the Drahomán Prize by Academy Publishing House with Czech translation of Volodymyr Vyatrovych journalistic work, Ukraine story classified as a top secret. For me, it was first of all was recognition of my work for many years. This work, this not only translations of literature, but also just delivering, just speaking about the Ukrainian modern life. The Rita is known for her translation, which she started to do when there was no any support from Ukrainian state. Rita Kindlerová was doing a very good translation from the Czech, and she was doing comments of historical events and moments which I remember in this story. Today I will just represent my book like a story classified as a top secret, which appears in 2012-13. My idea was, okay, let's just do translate. The idea was quite interesting but not very realistic, but Rita started to work, and it means that she will do. Rita is known that it's not she's only do translation. She creates the whole society of the Ukrainians in Czech and the same in Ukraine. Rita organized interviews in media and somehow to promote the idea of the creation of that book. She just made the meeting with the publishing houses. She was looking for resources to make this publication, and sooner or later it's become possible, and the book appeared in the Academy publishing houses. and when it was in the Czech language, and because she made a lot of efforts to make that, Rita creates image of Ukraine in Czech. When we're speaking about the image of Ukraine in Czech Republic, we start not from the zero but from the minus. So it's very important to talk about Ukraine, about Ukrainian culture as a modern, cool, good, equal to other European literatures and cultures. So this is done by Rita, and we thank you for very much. I can see that Rita Kindlerová, of course, deserves for that Drahomán Prize. She is a real ambassador. She is a person who promotes Ukrainian literature in the Czech society. Rita Kindlerová was nominated by the Drahomán Prize by Academia Publishing House with Vyatrovych, the journalistic work. This story was classified as a secret. Let's listen to their translation of Rita Kindlerová of that book.
Založila Rita Kindlerová. Ukrajinské 20. století. Utajované dejiny. Zkáza slova. V noci na 12. května 1933 se zastavil Anton nedaleko velkého šestipodlažního a pětivchodového činžaku v ulici Rudých spisovatelů 5 v Charkově. Muži v černých kožených bundách vyšli do druhého patra a vtrhli do bytu číslem 30. Rozhovor byl krátký a obyvatele bytu, spisovatele Michaila Jalového, odvedli hosté s sebou. Podobné noční scény se v tomto domě budou opakovat tak často, že mu místní začnou tajně říkat DPZ z ruského Dom предварительного заключения, dům předběžného zadržení. A čekisté se otevřený vysmívat, že k ušetření za oto by stačilo do všech oken a dveří nasadit mříže a nikoho nikam neodvážet. Dům byl v té době stále ještě zanovný. Začal být obyvan teprve v roce 1930. Obyvateli elitních bytů byli vybraní lidé, nejlepší ukrajinští sovětští spisovatelé. Šestipodlažní budovy, postavené ve tvaru písmena C, se říkalo slovo. V roce 1933, kdy ukrajinský venkov již vymíral hladem, začala skutečná zkáza charkovského slova a ukrajinského slova jako takového. Po výstřelu, který zazněl ráno 13. května 1933 v jednom z pokojů v bytě číslo 9 dome Slovo, běhla do místnosti Julia, manželka nájemníka bytu, a 2 hosté, spisovatelé Kuliš a Dosvitný. Sám Mikola Chvilový ležel v kaluži krve s prostřeleným spánkem. Vedle něj se nacházel vzkaz vysvětlující jeho čin. Začínal slovy. Začiny Jalového znamená postřelení celé generace. Slova zesnulého se stala strašlivým proroctvím, které se naplňovalo s neuvěřitelnou rychlostí. Generace představitelů ukrajinské kultury, zlikvidovaná v 30. letech, vešla do dějin jako rozstřelené obrození, rozstřílené vydročení. Jednou z hlavních scén této tragédie se stal nechvalné poslulý dům číslem 5 v ulici Rudých spisovatelů v Charkově. Odtud Černé Antony odvezli Hrihorie Epika, Valeriana Pidmohylného, Olese Dosvitného, Majka Johansena, Valeriana Polishchuka, Yevgena Plužnika, Michaila Semenka, Lese Kurbase, Volodymyra Žického, Ostapa Višňu, Mikoly Kuliše a další. Celkový počet ztrát obyvatel tohoto domu je hrozivý. Na 66 bytů připadá 33 zastřelených a více než 70 persekuovaných osob. Charkovský dům Slovo se stal specifickým centrem tragédií ukrajinského slova v 20. století. V současné době je to běžný činžák. Nic nepřipomíná hrůzy, které se zde odehrávaly před téměř 90 lety. V době nezávislosti byla na dům umístěna pamětní deska se jmény spisovatelů. Jsou zde všichni pohromadě. Ti, kteří byli zabiti, ti, kteří přežili tábory, i ti, kteří byli zlomeni ne fyzicky, ale psychicky, když se proměnili trubadury režimu.
To introduce Rita Kindlerová and justify the decision of the jury, we would like to give the floor to Mark Robert Stack, a literary scholar, writer, and member of the Drahomán Prize jury. My name is Mark Robert Zech. I'm happy to speak about Rita Kindlerová. Rita Kindlerová started to translate text in Ukrainian from Ukrainian language to Czech, starting from 2000. And her first translation in a book was in 2001. It was the Bushka story about the investigation of the Ukrainians. It was the first bird when translated from Ukrainian to Czech. From that time, Rita started to translate from Ukrainian to Czech a lot of different books, texts, poetry, and poems, as you heard. She translated Nidalka, Snedanka, Venichuka, Tanya Malerchuk, classical books, Ivan Franko, or the collections of the Ukrainian fairy tales. Rita made a lot of promotion of Oksana Zabushka work in Czech Republic. She just also made a translation of Sister, and also she also translated the book of the Museum of the Abandoned Secret. Rita was not only the translator of this very difficult text, but she also made the reading of that text for 800 pages. She also translated anthology Express Ukraine. She also made a Czech-Ukrainian vocabulary and Ukrainian Czech homonym. It was very unusual. Rita is also translated from New Greece language to Czech, but also she didn't forget about the Ukrainian literature as well. She also translated from Ukrainian to New Greek the poetry from Bogdanovich Agat Klimsky. Today, happily, we are very happy that there are a lot of the very good translators from the Ukrainian language in the Czech Republic. But at the beginning of 2000, Rita was the first, probably, who started to build the story and the bridges between the literature of Ukraine and Czech Republic. So she is very thoughtful translator. She is very attentive, but at the same time, with her decision to translate not even very popular, maybe text, she couldn't be sitting in the offices and translate. She started and became actually an active promoter and propaganda of the Ukrainian literature in Czech, and just stimulated the publishing house to publish the books which maybe were not so popular. She creates still now to build the bridges between the cultures in order to popularize Ukrainian literature in the Czech Republic. And the jury, Drahomán, actually of Prize, of course, considered her shortlisted in that. Thank you, Rita, for your work.
And for receiving the diploma of the finalist Rita Kindlerová, I'm inviting the director of the Czech Center in Kyiv, Pani Radka Rubylina.
Доброго дня, good evening.
Good evening. Дозвольте говорити українською, оскільки я нещодавно з'явилася в Україні, але я гадаю, що багато хто мене зрозуміє.
Features of Rita, as I know her for a very long time. We studied together at the same university, and then we met at a Slavonic library in Prague very often. And I would just like to say that Rita is a person who is always ready to speak about Ukraine, Ukrainian literature, Ukrainian society, political issues, whatever you ask. She's always ready to answer. She's a very cheerful person, which I really admire because she can comment in a way that you will laugh forever. And this all gets together, it goes together with a very exact thinking when she is translating. She has a very good sense of detail. She always adds many comments and notes to her translation. She always adds some lists of the names or afterwards. And I must say that this very precise work and very precise translation is something that I admire as well as her personality. As a last thing I would like to mention, she is not only ambassador of Ukrainian culture in the Czech Republic, but she's also an ambassador of a goodwill for all cats that are in need. I don't know how many cats live with her at the moment in her house, but I know that they had a very, very difficult and hard winter when the water inside of her house got frozen. So all I can wish her is a good and warm spring. I hope she will get warmed and everything will be fine with her husband, and with all the cats in the Czech Republic and in Ukraine. Thank you very much. I hope to see you, Rita, soon and pass this to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Дякую дуже, пані Радко. І тепер у нас є нагода почути голос фіналістки премії Drahomán Prize.
Now we are able to listen to the voice of the finalist Rita Kindlerová. Good day, I'm happy to be here with you all, and I would like to thank for being part of this prestigious list of the finalists of Drahomán Prize, to all organizers, because I wouldn't like to be the member of the jury. I'm sure it's a very tough choice to evaluate all the work that has been done, of all the translations, all the contributions into cultural connections between our countries, and not only ours, because Czech Republic, Germany, and Poland have interdependence, and they influence each other. And those books which are translated and published in Germany and Poland, they are also translated and published in the Czech Republic. And with Ukrainian language, the relation is very high. With Drahomán Prize, my Czech colleagues who are not as I have more of them than it used to be in the very beginning. Besides the happiness from the translation, that they can live with the hope to be live up to the hope to be recognized as cultural diplomat, because it's really very rewarding. Translation is all-inclusive. It contains both culture and translation itself. Because with one nation could be identified through literature by another nation. I'm thanking my to my Ukrainian Czech friends. I'm thanking Mariana in Ukrainian Academy. She became such a sister because she used to come to. I was able, thanks to her, to come to the Lviv fairs, book fairs, and I'm thanking all the authors I'm working with, and my husband, and the publisher, and the Ukrainian knowledge teacher in our Czech university. I'm thanking as well. Greetings to Rita Kindlerová. Now we are moving to another closer acquaintance with Drahomán Prize finalist Katarzyna Katyńska. Katarzyna Katyńska from Poland. She's an interpreter from Ukrainian to Polish. She's a Ukrainian literature specialist. She was translating Oksana Zabushko's novels, Yuri Androchovich's and Gritsak's novels. I'm thinking about translation not about as a mission, but as a work, as a speech. I'm thinking about the words and there are some. Sorry, there's doubling in the video. Their availability in both languages could help the communication and might facilitate the mutual understanding. She was nominated with Omelina's novel "The Home for the House." Being nominated for this award, it's an honor and happiness. I think I'm happy with the appearance of this translation because it's a success of the Ukrainian culture sphere. Katya Kaczynska, she was throughout those 19 years that we are working with her together, she is an object of non-unstoppable and increasing from book to book, from the project to project, and unstoppable authors' admiration. I really don't know how she manages that, but within those 19 years behind us, we have 4 book projects, and 3 of them were finalized, and the 4th one is coming up. Every translator, it's he would be the most attentive reader of any book. And Katarzyna Katyńska, she would be the reader of so many books, and she's unrivaled reader for all Ukrainian literature. When I was finishing my novel, The Home for the House, I was reading Katarzyna Katyńska's book on the Ukrainian literature, which was published by the Misto Lviva publishing house, and it was her book on the Ukrainian literature and culture. I was thinking, why not? Maybe she would read my novel one day, and she not only read it, but she also translated it, and she found a publisher for my book. And now she's nominated for the Drahomán Prize, and it's a big honor that my book was translated by Katarzyna Katyńska. Katya, she became a very close authority for me. I'm relying on her opinion. She's an amazing. She has this amazing connection which allows a translator to have a high professionalism, huge discipline and loyalty, and to be in love with work, and with all that structuredness and discipline that she has an amazing artistic talent with which she embodies the voices and images translated by her in Polish. So bravo, pani Kasia. Katarzyna Kotyńska was nominated for the Drahomán Prize by the Institute of Slavic Languages with Victoria Melina's book, The Home for the House. And now we are hearing the translation.
Dom dla domu. Pisarze wymyślili podróże w czasie, ale okazuje się, że można zwyczajnie pozwolić czasowi płynąć i pomachać mu na pożegnanie. Już chyba rozumiem, to nie przyszłość czeka na cyłyku za drzwiami, tylko teraźniejszość. Kobiety nie walczą z molami i kurzem tak po prostu. One powstrzymują upływ czasu. Babusiu, a na której półce są twoje suknie? Próbuje Marusia. Ani przez moment nie uwierzyła, że do skrzyni nie ma klucza, a w skrzyni nie ma żadnego sekretu. Jakie suknie? No przecież balowe. Marusia traci cierpliwość. Takie jak za muszkieterów. Mama mi opowiadała, bo ja bardzo, ale to bardzo chcę przymierzyć. Chociaż, Marusiu, przecież ja nie żyłam w tamtych czasach. Kolejny raz, jak zwykle, ze smutkiem odpowiada babcia. Jak to nie? Też, jak zwykle, dziwi się dziewczynka. Rzeczywiście, jak to? Upływ czasu przecież można mierzyć sukienkami w szafie. Czas gromadzi się i donikąd odtąd nie odchodzi. Mieszkanie na Łebkiego to pułapka na czas. Gdzieś tu powinni być i muszkieterowie, choćby przejazdem, i kozacy, i założyciel miasta król Daniel, i w ogóle wszyscy, bez wyjątku, mieszkańcy i goście, którzy bywali tu po nim. Marusia wydyma usta i włazi na skrzynię. Ja też mam ochotę po prostu sobie pójść. To przerażające. Stracę węch w tym domu, tak jak ludzie straciliby rozum od ciągłego hałasu. Najmocniej pachnie czerwoną Moskwą. Tak nazywały się najdroższe radzieckie perfumy. Paskudztwo. Zresztą jak i wszystkie. Tak. Nawet i francuskie perfumy. A w mieszkaniu wciąż są aż 2 flakoniki tej Moskwy. Jeden na szczęście prawie pusty, drugi pełniusieńki. Jeszcze na długo wystarczy. I pogryzłbym tego, kto niedokładnie zakręcił korek. Ale przecież ja nie gryzę. Tak naprawdę to żadna czerwona Moskwa. Wiadomo, tylko ulubiony bukiet cesarzowy. Zapach z roku 1913. I nie pytajcie mnie, skąd to wiem. Po prostu wiem. I tyle. Jak wy znacie swoje języki, którymi w żaden sposób nie możecie się podzielić. Bolszewicy po prostu ukradli ten zapach i przemianowali. tak samo jak i całe imperium. I oto już od prawie 100 lat wgryza się on w nosy bezdomnych psów z tych podwórek, niezależnie od nazwy, niezależnie od flagi wzniesionej nad miastem. A jeszcze czuję zapach, którego te kobiety w ogóle nie mieli skąd wziąć. To tamci gości, którzy naprawdę może mieli w swoich szafach po kilka wieczorowych sukien, pozostawili go w tym domu. Ne m'oublie pas. Perfumy z 1920 roku. Ten zapach, o dziwo, podoba mi się. Chociaż zasadniczo nie znoszę żadnych perfumów. Za to, że maskują ślady. Jak wy, ludzie, znosicie to? Chociaż telewizję też oglądacie. Gdybyście tylko mogli przeczytać to samo, co my. Historię murów i ziemi pod nogami. Dużo by się zmieniło. Tymczasem wszystko się powtarza. Wszystkie historie i fabuły, wszystkie wojny i zdrady. I proszę, nawet perfumy. I można nawet odtworzyć imperium starego perfumiarza Brokarda i podarować Marusi, kiedy już podrośnie, perfumy Guerlain, identyczne jak Ne m'oublie pas. Można je nawet tak nazwać. Wszystko jedno. Jestem pewien, że nikt z ludzi nie zauważy, że historia znowu kołem się toczy.
On behalf of the Drahomán Prize jury, our third finalist, Katarzyna Koteńska, will be represented by researcher professor at the Kyiv-Mogila Academy, Oleksiy Chupa. Good evening. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you to be here. I just congratulate our finalist, Katarzyna Koteńska, with who is my life. Happens that I know for 25 years, I must say. That time I was a teacher in Warsaw University, and Katarzyna was joined to the Ukrainian linguist department, and she was interested for the ancient literature, old literature. She was interested in the old Ukrainian literature, and she devoted a lot of her time to that literature and her PhD diploma. And I was thinking she will move in this direction, like a researcher of many languages, and including the Ukrainian literature of 16th, 17th, and 18th century. But that time was very hard and quite interesting at the same time, and we together with her were diving into Ukrainian modern literature. Katarzyna always was as a cat, she has always had her own way. She never followed me, but she had her own path, and she was admired by Valery Shevchuk. And of course, I liked Valery Shevchuk, but I was never thinking in my life to translate, because it's very complicated, it's so multi-age person, and Katarzyna, being young, started to translate his works in translation from Ukrainian language. In her translation of the novel about the witch, this is a very spooky novel, and it's the same like Vyatrovych novel of the House of Word. And she started her work with this so complicated work, and her range was expanding, and for 25 years of her professional work and even more, she translated more than 25 books from Ukrainian language. And she translated author's book as anthology, and I may say that at present time Ukrainian literature in Poland is quite known thanks to Katarzyna Katynska. We know her from A to Z, from Victoria Amelina Sofia Drahomán, Yuri Androchovich to through Oksana Zabushka up to Natalie Yakovenko, because Katarzyna Katynska translates not only fiction stories and poetry, she also translates from Ukrainian humanitaristics, so complemented works as letters of Yakovenko, very complicated text of Natalia Starchenko. And of course, thanks to Katarzyna Katynska, this text appeared in the Polish language, appeared in Poland. So the history of Ukraine are heard in translation of Katarzyna Katynska. Of course, we had a lot of books in Poland which are called by History of Ukraine, but Katarzyna Katynska translated two histories of Ukraine, Natalia Yakovenko, the old history, and Yaroslav Gritsak, the modern of modern nation. This is her actually main her endeavor. She actually went there to make the true. And today we have a lot of like a library from Katarzyna Katynska. At least you could go to the national library site of the Polish National Library, and you will see like 140 records of her, of course, including her personal translation. And as far as she is a researcher, she is a translator. Katarzyna, she is a person like a multi-age person. She is a researcher. She is practically is doing translation, and she is also a teacher and teach students how to translate. Of course, that person, a very admiring person, and her students in the Jagiellonsky University and in other places of Poland, and I hope these students will follow her path, her methods. Katarzyna Katynska, she lives in 3 cities, I may say. It seems to me nowadays only 2, because actually because she can't move to Lviv because we have the pandemic issues right now, but in fact she lives in 3 cities. She was born in Warsaw, received education in Warsaw. She works also in Warsaw. She also works in Krakow, but her spirit in Lviv, and she continuously promoting the spirit of Ukraine. This is multicultural Lviv, like from the the heritage from the 20th century, but a new sound, like showing Lviv in different interpretation, like essayists of the authors and artists as well. Katarzyna, thank you. Katarzyna, thank you for your work. I would like to congratulate you that I have an opportunity to be here, to be your actual auditor, and I also thank you for your work, for your huge contribution to promotion of Ukrainian culture, and of course for what that you're doing with these books, how to you masterfully translate them. Thank you very much for your work. And now we have a very to receive a diploma of the Katarzyna Katynska, so we would like to invite on the stage Yuri Stekievsky. Hello, everyone. Based on behalf of Mr. Chizhevsky, the Institute was to participate in this event, and thanks and honor to all the organizers of the prize. And to the finalists, Mr. Chizhevsky, he is an official delegation in Donbass, and unfortunately he personally can't be here. And personally, he delighted that one of the finalists became famous. She's a Polish translator, Ukrainian specialist. Katarzyna Katyńska was nominated with Polish translator Victoria Amelina House for Home about the searches for identity and freedom. The books which found like a dimension of the small history, the dimension of the space where different cultures and traditions, the house is a symbol, is a metaphor, and the mental journey. I'm very happy that one of the points on the map we see the Lviv house of Stanisław Lem. 100 years for anniversary we just celebrate this year. I also would like to mention that is very important. The house for home is full of the humanity, sincerity, and empathy, understanding of the world, the history, society, and all that we are striving for. The Drahomán Prize is a good way for honor all the translators, and of course they work like a mediator for whose work they deliver a new sense to the literature. Thank you, Katarina Katarzyńska, to find these senses in the Ukrainian Polish space, and would like to congratulate all the finalists, the prize itself, and very important to have the support in this work. Thank you very much. And now the floor is given to our third finalist, Katarzyna Katyńska. Hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me, for being a finalist, for the good words of Oleg Natyuk, who's I would like to say she was the first mentor actually of me, and of course without her it seems to me I wouldn't appear even here. This is also associated with the fact we were talking before during the interviews with the finalists as well, and already heard here that a translator works like alone. He is a lone person working at a table, the like typewriter or a notebook, but really a translator, he works alone, but he can't exist without the context, can't exist without the environment. And this environment must be from like multi-level, multi-age. We as a translator need like all other people around us, those who, even cleaners, welders, working, drivers, and so on. Drivers, we also needed to move somewhere. We need to know their vocabulary to find out how they're talking, what they're talking. We need also translators, interpreters around us, of course. The Society of Translators give us like a point to rely on, to give us opportunity to think that our work like alone is interesting to someone, is important to someone. And nobody understands so good translators as another translator. It's like the feeling of the nail that I'm not alone with a lot of us. And friends, of course, are needed who actually, see how the translation goes well. They need to support you at this time. Even we need gathering at a cup of coffee. We need to have an opportunity to consult, to ask, to realize, and to specify some kind of words, phrases to make them understand. Of course, we need to actually to look for the dialect and to look for the meaning of different phrases and sentences. And of course, my friends, of course, and those who are translators, I would like to thank you for your existence, for our years of communications and dialogues. Thank you very much. I would like again thank you, Oleg Pomorsky, Oleg, without who we wouldn't born like that, or maybe we didn't even developed. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much, Katarzyna.
And now that we met the finalists of the Drahomán Prize finalists, I think it's getting more and more evident how difficult the work of the juries community was, because the translators are not only making Ukraine known through its literature, but also as a country, as a culture. And now we are moving to the next stage of our ceremony, the Drahomán Prize nominee, the winner of the award, and I'm inviting the first deputy of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Pani Emine Japarova. Assalamu alaikum. I'm greeting you, dear team of the Ukrainian Institute, and dear presenters and musicians, and all those who I hope are getting pleasure from watching in such a hybrid format what we are creating as a wonderful action event and of high quality content and translation. I don't think you would argue with me that every single word is a code and every translated word is a deciphered code, and the way that this code is created, it's the way that this feeling is created, and the translator is a conductor of those feelings from one world to another, and people are often de-estimating, they are decreasing the value of the translator, and I think that translator's function is much wider. It's enlightening function, and I'm thinking about the Crimean Tatars enlightening and educational leader who was publishing the Torchman newspaper, and this is about the communication, which is a bridge of the Turk culture, which was provided to the world by Torchman and Jaswinsky. And I'm so happy to announce the name of our winner. So we freeze. The name is of our winner is Claudia Data, Germany. Claudia Data is the first nominee, the first winner of Drahomán Prize, and in order to congratulate the winner, we are inviting the ambassador of Germany in Ukraine, Mrs. Anka Feldgusen. Just one moment of delay, and I can say that the diploma and the statuette were created by Anna Zvyagintseва, and we will pass it over to the winner, and in that hybrid format we will be able to continue our ceremony. I think that the gods of telecommunication are working on the connection now, so we will continue meanwhile, because the awards and honors are not finishing with this prize. We will be listening to the winner now online. Pani Claudia. Unfortunately, I cannot hear anything, so I'm sorry. Something happened with the sound. Even the computer, they feel the tension of the moment. The first ever winner of Drahomán Prize of Ukraine. But we can see that Pani Claudia, she is very excited and touched. Can you hear me now? Yes. Now we can hear you. Great. Yes, here we go. Thank you so much. I'm so excited and I would like to continue my work. So thank you so much for the award. It seems like the first option of the speech was a bit longer. That's all you need to know about translators. We work and we move on. So the event hasn't finished and it's not the last award. Like we mentioned, we had 27 applications for the award from 14 countries, and going through those, analyzing them, the jury knew that they only need to be bound to 3 finalists, and in order to prolong their torture, we thought of an additional bonus award, which would be the special award from the jury. So the first winner, the first owner of this special bonus award, we are inviting the manager of the intellectual works of the French Institute, Valentina Stukalova. Good evening. Firstly, I'd like to mention that for me, this is a great honor to be the member of the first jury of the newly established award with the translation from Ukrainian to the languages of the world, and it's a big happiness that it did happen, and this award was originated, and it seems that in continuing the creation of such progressive and important for the promotion of the Ukraine's image worldwide, such Institute of the Book and Ukrainian Institute, the cultural diplomacy, which of which the book is the main instrument, it has worthy prolongation through this award. So I hope that this work will be sustainable. Of course, this work, it wasn't easy, but the idea of this special award of the jury emerged not due to the amount of the applications and that we would like to award someone else because we had so many projects. No, it's not because of that, although we have very worthy finalists, including our today's winner. Indeed, it was very difficult to choose, yet there were among the projects such translations that were very unique in some way. They were not so highly intensive by its contribution, but they had something very special about them. And during our sessions, the jury sessions, we thought that such aspects they need to be awarded, and that's why we thought of this idea of a special award. But those who followed the award and how it was announced and how the competition was announced, probably you noticed that we were not informing about the special award. This idea came up during our sessions with the jury, but hopefully we will be able to award some special projects that the jury will award with this bonus award. It could be special due to the genre in which the translation was made, or due to some historical views or historical value of this source text, or some unique cultural aspect of such work. That's why you saw that most of those projects that we were considering, they were presenting the European literature and European languages, or like the bigger major world languages. So there are lots of such translations, but some of the translators were nominated with a number of translations because they had many jobs done. Yet, do you agree that a translation into your own language from a very distant language with a very alien culture, very different culture, in such a project the translator needs to overcome not only linguistic difficulties, but also to find very complex and difficult social and cultural aspects in order to bring down to his compatriots the soul of the nation of the source text. And we had such a brave translator among the applications we received, so the jury decided that although the contribution in promotion of the Ukrainian culture isn't so big, but we would like to award this willingness to bring the Ukrainian literature to his the Ukrainian classical literature to his compatriots. We would like to award this aspiration of his. And the special bonus award is going to Mr. Imadeddin Raif from Lebanon, and we are the director and the head of the Lebanon Center in Ukraine. Good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen. I would like to greet you all, and also I'm greeting all the participants of this competition, Drahomán Prize, and I would like to ask you to let me to acknowledge the organizers for this prize, to Imadeddinu Raif, and to wish you all goodness and prosperity, and to be happy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hassan, and I would like to offer you the video business card from our nominee, from our winner.
Imadeddin Raif, Livan.
Imadedin Raev, translator from Ukrainian into Arabic, journalist, writer, Ukrainian researcher. He's working on the researches about Ukrainian literature for the Arabic and Lebanese media. The embassy of Lebanon in Ukraine applied with the researcher and writer from Lebanon, Imadedin Raev, thanks to whom 9 books in Arabic saw the light, and 2 works from Agatengal Krymsky and poems by Ivano Franko, The Fallen Leaves, and Lesia Ukrainka's books, and the history of Ukraine, the short course by Alexander Pali in Arabic. Imadedin Raev was nominated with the novel by Agatangel Krymsky, Beirut, Novels from Beirut. I'm giving this word in Ukrainian. He is such a vigorous translator. I was looking into those texts, Arabic and Ukrainian. Near Belmia, as Arabs say, it was so exact, it was so perfect. He was not just translating from Ukrainian, he was translating conversations from 100 years ago, and he found the proper vocabulary in Arabic language to provide the source and juice of that language from that time by Agatangel Krymsky. He kept the translation. In the translation, it's like he was time traveling. He is providing all the structure and all this style in his translation, and he is adding for the modern Arabs the explanations in Arabic, because they might not be able to understand. So the Arab was translated into his own language, and it's the value.
We can see that this is a very versatile Arabian market, because encounters 300 million of the readers, and we hope that Ukrainian society and those who are interested in Ukrainian book and its distribution will evaluate, appreciate highly the work of the translator Imadedin Raev. Well, now I would like to give the word to the Imadedin Raev to give the floor. Good evening, the dear organizers, participants. I'm happy to present here and to be today with you. And I hope I'm happy that my work is seen and honored by the jury. Everything started with Agaten Krymsky, with his travel 125 years ago to Beirut. At that time, he wrote these Beirut stories, and first my step was to the Ukrainian literature. Started with him. From the very beginning, I received support from the Ukrainian ambassador to Lebanon, and his wife, she was Marina Grinish. She is a Ukrainian writer, and she supported me in translations, and this support doesn't stop for 5 years already. They created the environment and the conditions between the Lebanon and Ukraine. This is a bridge not only in the sphere of the literature but the culture in general. I also want to thank the society, the community of Ukrainians living in Lebanon, and Lebanon Center of Culture in Ukraine. As to my work, we may surely to say that We do not have like extended library of Ukrainian translation in the Arabian word, and there are not many translations from Ukrainian language. But my translation from Ukrainian to Arabian understand all Arabian, so the whole Arabian world understand translation. For the last several years, during the my work, I was introduced to many people. I became a friend of many friends Ukraine who loves books. They actually also translators. They supported and they discovered and opened my eyes to the whole Ukrainian word of love and freedom and beautiful people. And as for me, this is an honor, and this is like a torch for me. Thank you very much to the members of the Drahomán Prize jury, and thank to you all. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Haymon Verlag, with a special bonus by jury prize. And would like to also mention to name all the translators who would receive the prize. The finalists, Rita Kindlerová and Katarzyna Katyńska, the laureate Claudia Data, and the holder Haymon Verlag of the special bonus. Also, I would like to also congratulate all us ambassadors, our translators, the participants of the long list of Drahomán Prize 2020. This prize in our ceremony is actually the idea from the Ukrainian state to thank for your work, your actually devotion. And of course, we will be happy to see all your name among the nominees for the next year. And on the September 2021, we will start the next step for the contest. So just follow us on the organizers' websites, Ukrainian Institute, Pen Ukraine, and Institute Book of Ukraine. The whole list of the finalists have been already mentioned, and theoretically we could close the Drahomán Prize. The organizer of the award actually prepared for us one more literary musical gift, and this gift was selected not by mistake, but first we will hear it. We were promised to give an intrigue, and we have an opportunity to hear the voice of one of the speakers who we invited today, Pani Ambassador of Germany, Anka Feldgusing. Have a look. Hello everyone. I am sorry that I just missed actually a moment of my speech, because with the process it's always a problem when to start to speak out. So let me just do it now. And I was said from the very beginning that I need to do in English, but actually this is a day of Ukrainian, and so it's a day which we must to talk Ukrainian. So I would like to say that I will be happy to speak in Ukrainian. This day for me is really honor to speak in Ukraine with you. Because of that great event, I'm happy. I'm happy that this Drahomán First Prize 2020 received by a very famous translator of Claudia Data. And Claudia Data, congratulations personally to you, Claudia, to you. In addition of her achievements in the sphere of literate translation, Miss Claudia worked a lot over the Ukrainian translation and literature from students, with young writers, with projects of non-governmental, with the cultural actors in Ukraine and in the Eastern Europe, and that's why she helped a lot of people, and actually to make a bridge to enhance our relation between Germany and Ukraine. With her translations of the poetry, we see what's going on the western and eastern part of Ukraine. about the war which is going on in the eastern part of Ukraine and the consequences of the war on the society and community. With the last translation, we see what are the difficulties normal people face. Claudia Data received actually a good result of critics when she was translated of Zhadan's book, and Tanya Malachuk, and other authors, and she was actually expressed which is the German International Prize 2020 with the Eugene Belarusians. From the very beginning, it actually supported by the Ukrainian state and the Ukrainian Institute to support of this platform is this first Drahomán Prize. For the last years, they made a lot of contribution for development of the culture and expression, and of course in the dialogue with cultural, social, and political spheres. So all the political and cultural institutions in Ukraine, there are like an examples and indicators of the transparency and subordination and democracy for the benefit of open and tourists actually and citizens as well. The Ukrainian Institute, the Ukrainian Book Institute, and the Pan-Ukraine and the Cultural Foundation, and they really made a lot for strengthening of the network of the cultural managers, I may say, and they will receive an opportunity to increase the activity of this organization and to continue to form the relations with other actors through the borders of Europe and worldwide, with artists, with the societies, and of course the citizens in Germany. I would like once again to congratulate all of you with the successful first Drahomán Prize, even with those difficulties during a pandemic which we are now facing. And once again, Miss Claudia, I would like to congratulate you. Thank you for your job and receiving that great prize. Thank you, Miss Ambassador, and I see a good sign for that. All who organizers actually gave the floor today to had an opportunity to speak out during the first Drahomán Prize. I would like to say that the speech which we heard actually very important because it's like a prompting to like literature musical gift, because we were talking from the very beginning that laureate Claudia Data was nominated for Drahomán Prize with 2 books, and in addition to one of their frailties from the bomb shelter, there was also a translation into German from Ukrainian, the poetry collection of Antenna, Zhadan, and today's ceremony. And now, this is like Solomon. We just complete with the project where we hear the poetry of Zhadan's in surprise, in translation of Claudia Data, and now we give this stage. Actually, we can't pass this stage to the Merenheim line. The text by Serhii Zhadan, translation in German, as we already have mentioned, Claudia Data, and the music by Oleksiy Chupa and Eugene Turchinov. Merenheim line. This is a project which combines different concepts of sound and just viewing the reality with themes and veins. So this is a poetic and very good definition for that Merenheim line and for their translation work, which make bridges between different cultures and countries. And today it would be worth to say and define that we are actually the witnesses of the historical event, because the first time the Drahomán Prize was handed out, and it also was also completed with the bridge which we were talking in the beginning, that Drahomán is not only a translator but a person, an ambassador who just make the bridges between the nations. And in our case, it's not only the bridges, we have the bridges between the elements of culture. We have now literature combined with music in a person musician, translation, and writers. This is like postmodern mix, which could actually maybe exist in the 2021. One is understand, and we will see this online. And also, it's very important that all finalists, which we mentioned today for the Drahomán Prize, and actually the holder of special bonus, we were talking about the environment of translators, and we mentioned that Serhii Zhadan is not only the participant on Mannerheim line, but he's one of the modern classics of Ukraine literature, and also he is a translator who actually perfectly translates from German to Ukrainian. And Yuri, you pushed me to the idea that next year we will be speaking about actually some gender. Actually, this year we have only a female finalist, but it seems to me that 2021 Drahomán Prize maybe will be male laureate, and so we will say that actually today we were talking about the first female laureate, finalist female, but next year will be male. And if to think about the music which will be heard next year, probably I like Rive words that in Ukrainian words there is Ukrainian language has kind of a freedom and melody in Ukrainian language. And for gender balance, we would like next year probably to have on the final of the girls, for example, like Oksana Zabushka, for example, being with the voicing over. And I was thinking which kind of the band would have this role in Ukrainian language. Actually, in Ukrainian music, I must say there is will be kind, this like a baby actually took the function, but Serhii Zhadan is prepared to be on stage, so Mannerheim line is very important, and this is like very symbolic name for the group, for the band. It doesn't give the passings through our borders to the invaders, but it stops actually to influence from the outside, which may destroy the culture if we want actually protect it and share it with other world. Of course, translation is one of the ways to actually to create perimeter and to protect the culture and to build the bridge between different cultures. And we actually promised to Serhii Zhadan that we will support him, and we are talking about the project Mannerheim Line, and in a couple of minutes you will hear the text of Zhadan, music Danava, and in translation of Data. And of course, it seems to me we're almost completed, and Serhii Zhadan is just coming out from the Mannerheim line.
Раз, два, три, чотири, п'ять. Друзі, всім доброго вечора. Доброго вечора всім тут присутнім. І всім, хто нас бачить зараз через трансляцію. Я хотів сказати кілька речей. По-перше, з приводу Оксани Забушко. Якщо наступного року ви запросите який-небудь проєкт, який би виконував пісні на тексти Оксани Стефанівни, я сердечно рекомендую «Сестри Тильнюк», проєкт, який зробив фантастичну програму на слова Оксани, тому я думаю, це буде дуже доречно. По-друге, хотілося сказати таку річ. Насправді, хочеться привітати нас всіх з появою цієї премії, з появою Drahomán Prize, тому що коли країна підтримує свою культуру поза межами своїх державних кордонів, коли от вона підтримує промоцію своєї культури, це ознака сильної культури, ознака того, що дійсно ми дбаємо про свою промоцію, дбаємо про те, щоб от про нас говорили, щоб про нас знали і щоб нас тлумачили. По-друге, страшенно приємно бачити трійцю лауреатів, трійцю номінантів, тому що я знаю особисто, маю велику честь знати цих трьох жінок, перекладачок. Це дійсно люди, які роблять дуже багато для промоції української літератури, для промоції української культури. І мені здається, це більш ніж справедлива поява саме їх в цій фінальній трійці. З іншого боку, ясна річ, що я болівав за Claudia Data, з якою ми працюємо з 2004 чи 2005 року. От ще тоді, коли виходила моя перша книжка німецькою мовою, ми з Клаудією, пам'ятаю, познайомилися і почали працювати. З того часу ми переклали, вона переклала, я з нею працював, та вона зробила кілька книжок, і це була щоразу якась цікава робота, цікава співпраця. Хочеться її привітати. Клаудія, якщо ти дивишся, якщо ти чуєш, вітаю тебе сердечно, вітання тобі від хлопців, яких ти теж знаєш, оскільки лінія працювала з тобою, ти дійсно перекладала наші тексти, які зараз і будуть тут у нас присутні. Ну, от, власне, це такий короткий сумбурний вступ. Ми вам зараз щось почитаємо, пограємо, поспіваємо. Їй 15, вона торгує квітами на вокзалі. Кисень за шахтами солодкий від сонця та ягід. Потяги замирають на мить, рушають далі. Військові їдуть на схід, військові їдуть на захід. Ніхто не зупиняється в її місті, ніхто не хоче забрати її з собою. Вона думає, стоячи зранку на своєму місці, що навіть ця територія, виявляється, може бути бажаною і дорогою. Що їй, виявляється, не хочеться лишати надовго, що за неї, виявляється, хочеться чіплятись зубами, що для любові, виявляється, достатньо цього вокзалу старого і літньої порожньої панорами. Ніхто не пояснює їй, в чому причина. Ніхто не приносить квіти на могили її старшому брату. Крізь сон чути, як у темряві, формується батьківщина, ніби хребет у підлітка з інтернату. Формується світло і темрява, складаючись разом. Літнє сонце перетікає в зиму. Все, що діється нині з ними всіма, називається часом. Головне розуміти, що все це діється саме з ними. Формується її пам'ять, формується втіха. В цьому місці народилися всі, кого вона знає. Засинаючи, вона згадує кожного, хто звідси поїхав. Коли згадувати більше немає кого, вона засинає. seine Lungenbrücken ausgespuckt hat und verreckt ist, hat bis zum Schluss nicht kapiert, was mit seinem Land passiert ist, was die Vertragsreihe mit ihm angestaltet haben, die es jetzt ungeniert Stück um Stück versterben. Meine Mutter, die seine ganze Sache irgendwann verkauft hat, mit einem Typen in wilder Ehe erlebt, hält ihre Erinnerungen und als Frauensäufer vor ihm geheim, schließt sich Nacht ein, damit ich sie ein nicht belausche. Noch immer trifft mich mit seinem Husten wie mit Dornen. Erscheint mir im Traum, sein schwarzes Auge fixiert mich. Und ich weiß, das Schwerste, was wir haben, ist unsere Erinnerung. Und das Schlimmste ist, dass sie von Jahr zu Jahr schwerer wird. Er nennt mir die Namen der Ärzte, die ihn auf dem Gewissen haben, setzt sich aufs Nachbarbett und fordert Rauch. Mein Junge, sagt er zu mir, du hast keine Wut und keine Kraft. Du hast ihnen deine Wut gegeben, wie dem Schaffner das Bettzeug. Du hast kein Erbe, mein Junge, und kein Land. Und deine ganzen Freunde, mein Junge, verglühen wie Kometen. Ihr verirrt euch wie die Zigeuner und verschwindet wie die Karriere. Wenn sowieso alles hin ist, versuch doch wenigstens anständig zu sterben. Wie lange willst du noch diese Stimmen auf der Treppe, die Wecker und Brillen, die warmen Alltagsdinge ertragen? Reiß ihnen das Herz raus und halt endlich die Luft an. Verbrennt den ganzen Kram im Bett wie Makulatur. Дістую бензин, міцні корабельні канати. Розводжу в кімнаті вогонь, який усіх нас огорне, і знаю, ніщо не може мати над нами влади, окрім голосу крові, який заповнює горло. Добре, коли тобі сняться підпільники та герої. Погано, коли їхня поява на тебе тисне. Ця влада посилює мені любов до холодної зброї. Ця держава позбавляє мене почуття вітчизни. Країна, в якій виживання вважають талантом, де вся твоя біографія, список боргів і трупів, називає мене тепер злісно вбивцею і симулянтом, опитує свідки, які вціліли, шукає рештки отрути. Хай тепер прокуратура засипле мене своїм спамом, хай потопом зальється вулиця Кам'яниста, хай з'являться миротворці і випалять чорним напалмом гарячі електростанції моновтомного міста. Хай вони тепер спробують все це без нас поєднати. Хай спробують врахувати небесні, сумні коливання. Сонця священний вогонь заливає кімнати. Герої не помирають від стаціонарного лікування. Спасибі. Але це ще не все. Південно-західна залізниця, 3-я ніч, година рання. На 2 вагони одна провідниця забезпечує пересування. Ходить, ніби мати Тереза, непевна, як погода осіння. Блукає, темна і нетвереза, розганяючись сновидіння. Я лежу в глибині вагона, приречено, мов шахтар у забої. Везу пакет з головою пітона, чорного хіміка з Лозової. Колись він був королем гідравлік, мав постачальників за кордоном, жив як міг, контролюючи трафік між Тирасполем та Краснодоном. Троїв своїм щемким сурогатом молдаван та різних узбеків, навіть був колись депутатом по мажоритарному від ездеків. А ось тепер і не сплю, хоч пізня година. Сни підступали до мене тричі і слухаю, як його щетина далі росте на його обличчі. Ну як ти, брат, питає, проспався? Може ти сигарет нарит? Та ладно, відказує він, не парся. З моїми проблемами тільки курити. Страшно, питаю, з того боку. Не страшно, каже, просто незвично. Страшно було минулого року в Ростові, коли спалили шашличну. А тут ніби щось тобі не вернули. Пам'ять волочиться, мов парашути. Ходиш і забуваєш минуле. Забуваєш і не можеш забути. Лише відчуваєш останнім нервом, зубами і складками жировими тонку межу, що проходить небо між живими та неживими. Тому вези мене, брат, додому, в тихому, наче спів у вагоні. Вези мою безкінечну втому і спомини мої невагомі. Віддай мене товаришам по зброї. Нехай ці печальні, п'яні бандити тепер вирішують поміж собою, що з головою моєю робити. Нехай пам'ятають всі мої звички. Голос, мерзлі, глибокі озера й легені, чорні, як рукавички, побитого безнадійного боксера. Скажи тій жінці, що вміла любити, нехай виходить з печалі своєї. Все, що міг для неї зробити, це померти подалі від неї. Така тепер між нами різниця. Клади сигарету мені до рота. Смерть, вона як оця провідниця. Для неї це просто, чесна робота. Теплі сни, випадкові дати. Все, що ти встиг запам'ятати. Все, що побачити довелося. Живе по смерті, ніби волосся. Поговори зі мною, братка. Палений найк, стара рафатка. Ніч пливе, сутінь хитається. Повітря вдихається, видихається, вдихається, видихається, вдихається, видихається, вдихається. Дуже дякую. Спасибо. Джентльмени, може ви відставити стільці? І ми станцюємо. Ти знаєш наш репертуар. Погнали? Друзі, всіх ще раз вітаємо з цієї премії. Мені здається, це дуже круто, що в нас є Drahomán Prize. Вітаємо всіх причетних.
без правил, заробіток святих, коли суддя щось кричить і натовп затиха, молоді апостоли б'ються проти місцевих, себто проти чужих. Ісусу теж намотують бинти на кулаки, виштовхують в коло, ніби воду ріки. Проти нього стоїть юний вантажник і, вітаючись, не подає руки.
Коли Ісус впаде на церкове сукно, коли зісковзує пекло кудись на дно, тіло стає ламками у хліб, а кров суха, як вино, але хтось кричить йому в спину: давай зберись, згадай усе, що ти говорив нам колись. Якщо ти не встанеш, про це дізнаються всі відразу і скрізь.
Підіймайся і бийся, як умієш, лиш ти вали цю наволоч, не даймо звідси піти. Кожна твоя перемога, ще один крок до мети. Жодного прощення тим, хто боявся між рік і трав. Жодної ласки Господньої, жодних прав. Давай, ти ж стільки разів падав і помирав.
Вони всі тут зрадники і слабики, в них замість совісті зябра, замість крил на спині плавники. Вали їх, Спасителю, рань об них кулаки. Вали їх за їхню слабкість і їхні плачі. Вали за те, що вони про все забувають вночі. За те, що вони дивляться на власну смерть, мов глядачі.
Вони все одно не слухають ні нас, ні тебе. Їх ніщо не врятує, їх ніщо не гребе. Знищуй їх, Господи, доки вони самі не винищили себе.
Знищуй їх за їхню продажність і їхню лінь, за їхню сученість, що заляла в кожному з поколінь, за хитрість, як вони вплітають до своїх полінь. Спльовує чорну кров, піднімається, потім падає, потім піднімається знову. Вантажники шепочуться одно й знову. Смертю смерть поборов. І валить правим прямим просто під тих за кожних заподіяних немалих. Оскільки Бог справді справа завзята і молодих.
І юний вантажник, вилітаючи із життя, встигає йому подякувати, тішачись як дитя. Мовляв, блажен, хто вірить у спасіння і забуття. І апостоли прикладають йому рушник до лиця і говорять, що вірили йому до кінця. І той, хто ставив на нього, ставить далі так само недосвідченого бійця.
Yeah.
Знищуй, Господи, доки вони самі не винищили себе. 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 Знищуй, Господи, доки вони самі не винищили себе.
Спасибі. І що хочеться сказати на завершення? Хочеться ще раз привітати всіх з цією премією. Хочеться привітати всіх, хто потрапив в фінал. Хочеться привітати нашу переможницю. І хочеться що? Хочеться чекати на наступний рік, коли будуть наступні учасники і переможці, і, власне, експерти. То давайте і будемо слухати на врученні сестер Тельнюк з виконанням їхніх пісень на слова Оксани Стефанівни Забушко. Спасибі всім, всіх вітаємо. Це насправді велика подія, вона дійсно війде історію української літератури.
Починаються зачистки в прямому ефірі. Перші погроми, спалені пороми, витворюється лінія оборони. Все ще й далі лишається з тобою рваний простір для любові та бою. Небо перетворюється на свинчатку. Холодна війна починається спочатку. Жар випалює балкони і тераси. Демони звертають із нічної автотраси. Підпалюють твою початкову школу. Ставлять розп'яття серед танцполу. Демон виростав серед друзів на пійні. Демона рухи навчені й повільні. В демона серце криваве і тепле. Демон ридає і звертається до тебе. Де твоя лінія Маннергейма? Де твоя лінія Маннергейма? Трофейна торба, місячна норма. Заповнюється скаутами перша платформа. Лінія відлучення, лінія болю. Лінія ще тягнеться весь час за тобою. Небесна Палестина, внутрішня лінія. Де твоя лінія? Гей, де твоя лінія? Найглибший стиж. Світ виникає зі світла пітьми. Справжня історія твориться дітьми. Повітря складається зі світла й води. Далі відступати немає куди. В повітрі ховається 40 голосів. Час зламався, зупинився і осів. Час втомився і нікуди не йде. Затопленим лінкором зупиняє свій хід. Де твоя лінія долі? Де? Кому тепер від тебе передати привіт? Віддані складається з розбитих сердець. Демон грає на армійській трубі. Місяць піднімається холодний як мрець. Світить в